Tēnā tātou, haere mai and welcome Tauranga Moana. Welcome and hello to It's in the Ballot. These candidates will be standing for the Te Papa Award, but as with every election, one thing standing in the way, and that is your vote. Good morning, Tauranga and audience. Welcome to It's in the Ballot. This is Sam Summers' great project, inspired by It's in the Bag, where we can make politics accessible for all. I'd like to start off by introducing our crew. It's Sam Summers at the host desk, Nick on camera, Rebecca will be our question host. I will introduce you shortly. And nobody forget Stacey, my partner at home, editing and bringing the stream alive. Can we start by introducing our candidates, just starting from me to the left, or from you as your left to right? Just say your name. And
Kia ora, good afternoon. My name is Bram Berkel.
Try again.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Terry Molloy.
Kia ora and good afternoon. My name is Barbara Turley.
Kia ora, my name is Jim Smith, aka Mr. Fix-It.
Kia ora Tauranga, my name is Andrew Caie.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rod Taylor.
Good afternoon, Tauranga. My name's Chudleigh Haggett.
Wonderful, thank you for that. And now that we've done that, we probably could have skipped that and just gone into your opening statements, but I will use my list randomizer here, and everyone gets a fair go. So we're going to start with Terry Molloy. Your opening statement, please. 1 minute. Molloy, Terry Molloy. Got it.
Good afternoon, everybody. Why am I standing? I believe it's incredibly important, since we've had the commissioners there for the last few years, that we have a steady hand on the tiller as we go forward. I think it's absolutely important that we do not have any knee-jerk reactions. They've set a certain direction. We may not approve of all of it, but I think it would be a big mistake to try and change it at this stage. The other thing that's absolutely critical, and a reason I'm standing, is that the two most important things in local politics, I believe, going forward is, one is planning. You've got to get the plan for the future right. We've got to be planning out 100 years. If we don't get that right, we're never going to catch up. And the other is finance. You know, we have got significant finance in our area. With our partners, the Western Bay, Environment Bay of Plenty, the iwi, the government, our developers. We need to get them to work together. Thank you.
Brilliant. Cheers, Terry. Next up, Chudleigh Haggett.
Good afternoon, everybody, and congratulations for taking the time to come here and listen to all the candidates rather than to listen to most of the BS that's in the papers around the place. At least you can meet and talk and understand the people. I'm standing for Te Papa Ward because as a previous councillor, I feel I know how to get the system working in favour of those people in Te Papa. The Te Papa Ward has suffered the most of all of the wards in Tauranga over the time of the commissars, as I call them, and very little has been done to relieve the problems that they've had. If I become a part of the council, I'll try and encourage all of the other councillors to make sure that the council is looking forward to a steady platform, which means probably rebuilding council and its staff, re-looking at a lot of the expenditure that the 10-year plan proposes, and finding out what's affordable to the people of Tauranga, particularly in the Te Papa Ward.
Thank you, Chudleigh. Next for your opening statement, Andrew.
Kia ora Tauranga. I'm Andrew Caie, and I like to start off these events the same way. And it's not even to convince you to try and vote for me. It's to try and send you a message of what to vote for. Right now, Tauranga as a city cannot afford itself. And so every other problem kind of becomes a secondary problem to that one. It doesn't really matter if you want more community services, if you want better roads, better public transport, if you want the parks better taken care of. It all comes back to the fundamental thing of this city has grown beyond its capacity to pay for itself. So whoever you vote for this election, just make sure you ask them, what is your plan to grow Tauranga so that it can pay for its own way? Now, as for myself, my background is in physiotherapy. I'm currently self-employed here in Tauranga, and I believe that that has given me some excellent skills that would make me a good counsellor for you guys. And hopefully, as the evening goes on, I'll get through the rest of my ideas and plans. But I always like to start these off by thanking you for coming and encouraging you to vote for the right people that are going to develop Tauranga so that it can afford itself. Thank you.
Wonderful. Opening statement, Bram.
Good afternoon. I'm actually excited to have the chance to act as a representative on the Tauranga Council. I bring skills. I bring skills and will add value and champion Tauranga's economic development and growth. Each one of us has a different perspective of life. And as individuals, we should be treated with the appropriate respect. There are many facets that makes Tauranga what it is. Many facets. As your representative and with your ongoing support and feedback, we can make Tauranga a viable and dynamic place to call home, not just for our generation, but for future generations. I am looking forward to it, and I believe that we can make it happen. Thank you.
Awesome, Bram. Thank you. Rod Taylor, your statement.
Good afternoon, everybody. And as I said before, my name is Rod Taylor. I've lived in Tauranga my entire life. I don't currently reside in the Te Papa Ward. I live slightly over the water here at Pillins Point. The reason I'm standing in Te Papa is largely to do with the fact that I own businesses in town, and I want to see the town heal itself, move on with the growth that's there, and continue the vision that the commissioners have put in place. I see the plan that they have ahead of us as something to strive for, but it obviously is a 10-year plan at the moment that needs a lot of rectification and tweaking as we go forward. But I want Tauranga to be a place that doesn't look like a bomb site, and I'm largely aiming at the CBD. So hopefully tonight you'll get an idea of what I'm after. Cheers.
Thank you. Reihana, introduce yourself when you're ready. Do we have a Reihana? No, not yet. Oh, Roger. One moment. Next on the list is a Mark. Okay, I thought so. He's got a question mark there. Barbara, your introduction when you're ready. Thank you.
As the only girl here, well, my vision, looking from the outside for Tauranga, is varied. I would like to work with TCC, the Regional Council, and address the congestion that is happening around Tauranga, especially at peak times. I want to work at a way of getting Tauranga moving, possibly with other transport possibilities, such as park and ride places, ferries for Maumokoroa and the Mount, and investigating rail. Our CBD needs revitalising, and growth internally is how I see it happening. But to do that, we need to look at many options, including development fees and compliance fees. We need to control rate increases. I'm on a fixed income. I couldn't afford 164% in 10 years' time. We need to keep a check and balance on our harbour, on the ecosystem of our beaches, and these are among the best assets that we have. We need to look after them. I'm new to council workings, but not governance roles. I could go on more. I'm not allowed. This is my thoughts. If you want to ask questions, see me later.
Very good. And props for rail. So last, if I am doing this correctly, we have Jim.
Good evening all, I'm Jim Smith. I'm an enrolled barrister and solicitor of the High Court of New Zealand, and with that I bring a sound knowledge of governance, particularly around matters of constitutional and administrative law. I'm also a fourth generation Tauranga local, so I have very deep roots in this town. One set of great-grandparents settled in Welcome Bay, the other settled in the avenues, just one avenue from where I live now, and that is firmly in the Te Papa ward. Born and bred on a dairy farm in the hills of Kaitimaka and Welcome Bay, and I still have family there. And as the saying goes, you can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy. So I bring fundamental, pragmatic, problem-solving aptitude with me. I'm a natural advocate, in which I studied law and why I currently work as an advocate for a local charity, Kids Needs Dads. And I've been there for 20 years to going back for parents and their kids, and that is where I got the name Mr. Fix-It. So considering my background and skill base, going to local governance, it's a natural process.
Very good experience. Got dance practice in the other hall behind us. All right. Thank you for your opening statements. Yeah, well, we're going to go to the questions we think you'll be asking, one of Sam's fun new segments of the show. Questions we think you'll be asking after tonight's show. Will the Museum of Te Papa, Tongarewa, make the 523-kilometre journey north from its current location to our front doorsteps? With the talk of clip on cycle and pedestrian walkways, will the Matapihi train bridge get a clip-on roadway to ease traffic congestion? I'm not familiar with the concept of a clip-on roadway. Sam will inform me later. Will Doctor Who fans be waiting outside to get autographs from a specific councillor candidate? Not a problem. All right, let's move on to the bulk part of the show, the fun part, where we have boxes full of questions submitted by the public. These have been put in by randomly by our question host here, Rebecca. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what brings you to It's in the Ballot?
Sure. I haven't prepared anything. I'm Rebecca Kitt. I'm from Youth Voices Action, and we are a not-for-profit organisation here in Tauranga that work with young people. We empower them and we encourage them to be involved in sitting around the table or helping to make decisions that affect them. So we came out with a cheat sheet for the local body elections, and it's great for anybody and everybody, but especially was designed for young people so that they can kind of learn a little bit more about how the whole process works and some keywords and that kind of thing. That's who I am.
Thank you so much for sharing. Is everyone ready to get the game started? Awesome. All right, my random order sheet suggests to you that Bram, you will be first to choose a box. Please pick a number and speak to the microphone if you can, my good sir.
Lucky number 13. Okay, so we have the letter P for Peter.
Very good.
If you are elected into council, will you support the Tauranga Commissioner's strategy, direction and long-term plan? Yes or no?
I actually endorse the Commission strategy, direction and long-term plan. I actually endorse it. However, it should be noted that the long-term plan is a live document. Does everybody understand what a live document is? It's where it actually you look at it and you look at it and you look at it and you make amendments as you go. In 3 years' time, it is going to be completely reviewed. I believe that Tauranga does need a long-term plan, and it's actually a statutory requirement to have one. It also provides a visionary base of where the for Tauranga to work on over the coming years. So it gives a base for us to understand where we want to go. Thank you.
Excellent. Next up, Terry. Terry, please pick a box.
Oh, I thought that was Brave going for unlucky 13 and it worked out all right. I'll take 15.
15.
Box 15, and please to remember your microphone so those at home can hear.
Okay, number 15, we have N for Nigel. Do you support greater levels of intensification and the loosening of height restrictions in central areas, like that recently seen in the amended Wellington District Plan?
That's an interesting one. We've got to look where we put the next 50,000 people in our city. I mean, as it is now, we've got congestion out on the roads, we've got all sorts of problems. Where we house people, whether it's greenfields or intensification, is very, very important. And yes, I do support the intensification where we can. I think it's vitally important that we do, that we go up as much as we possibly can. So yes, I do.
Thank you so much. Next for the boxes, Rod. Please pick a number.
Number 12, okay.
Number 12, Rod.
So we have
Thank you.
Caie for Kelly. It's not a chameleon, but that starts with C.
Roger.
In regards to the Plan 33 change for residential density around the city, where do you stand on these changes?
Very similar question to the last one. I did prepare an answer. I think the recent recommendations made by the panel of experts that the council paid to assess this should have been adopted in full. The report largely adopted intensification, but with a few adjustments. The Commissioner's amendments will need to be looked at by the new council. They appear to have done doesn't look particularly good, I don't think. And an investigation to what's happened here will be an urgent priority for the new council.
Cheers, Rod. We also have a butt-in from Bram who would like to answer the question.
This is quite new to me. Just so you're aware, we live in the Kingsview Towers, and so I can clearly see what happens with intensification. I do have some photos here. If anybody's interested in looking at them afterwards, of what the result is of high-rise building. Growth will not go away. Let's be honest. Growth won't go away, and that means more people and more of everything. Building heights are going to increase. The question is how we manage this. I'm a strong believer in air, sun, and amenities. That means we provide environments, living space that do not have tall buildings stack up one next to the other, and creating undesirable environments and surroundings. We need to avoid situations like this like what I've got here. And if you put your buildings too close together, you'll have impact on and amenities. I do strongly recommend that we make sure that if we do anything like this, is that there is that facility there. Thank you.
Thank you, Bram. Another button from Jim. Very good. Please proceed.
All right. Yeah, the Mounties, they've always been a special breed, and I've always been envious of them. And, you know, my dad used to have a butcher shop over there in the 60s. I can remember when the surf was up, many businesses would shut their doors and with a sign going, "Gone surfing." And then we built a bridge and ruined it for them. So a lot of time for the Mounties, and they've been quite steadfast in their opposition to Plan Change 33. And I say to them, get out and vote for the candidate that will kill it for them. Regarding the Papa ward, my stance for this ward is very different. We are constrained by a harbour on each side of the CBD. The CBD, in any city for that matter, once you hit a critical mass, then the expectation is the only way is up. The mountain's buzzing, the Tauranga CBD is not. That is the difference. We need intensification in the CBD to bring it back to life.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, moving on to a new question, I guess. Where did we get to? Did Rod pick a box?
Yep.
Thank you. So now, Andrew, you are up.
Well, I'd like you to rank me number one. So, number one, please.
Number one it is.
One is available.
I've been thinking about it for days.
Okay, we have the letter G for George. It's a long one. Okay, are you prepared to support unpopular but necessary levels of rate increases in order to ensure the financial viability of the council, instead of voting for lower rate increases in the interest of your own re-election prospects at the expense of future councils being able to fund infrastructure, maintenance and upgrades?
That's a very long question. And as I understand it, it's basically, yes, I do support doing what is necessary for the good of the city over the long term. And if that means putting up rates, which at this current point of our city's growth and development, unfortunately, we do need to make up for some missed investment. And so I believe over the next 5 years, the rate rises have already been set. I think you'll be hard pressed to find a council that will change that. But what we need to do is invest that money wisely so that this city can start to pay for itself in the long term, and we're not relying on 10% rate rises every year, because we can't sustain that. So yes, I do support making unpopular but necessary decisions, but I want to make sure that any rate rises are prudent and efficiently spent so that we get the most out of our money, and that eventually we can just inflation.
I like to cut in. Can't let that go.
Yes, Chef, please do.
People, I can't let that go. I'm sorry. But there's a big difference here. I mean, what Andrew is saying is that we must plan for the future is correct. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. But we've heard from the commissioners and council over the last 5 years or so that there's been no investment in infrastructure or anything. Well, of course, that's simply not true. We've spent millions on infrastructure. And the other side of that coin is that if you look at the 10-year plan, all of these masterful things that they're going to pay these huge amounts of money for, none of them are infrastructure. None of them are new roads. It's all fancy buildings so that they can jack up the amount of money they can borrow from central government. No, I'm sorry. Before these rates go up and before you look at the rates, you must believe in the process that's going to give an advantage to the ratepayers. Just quickly, although in 10 years' time they're claiming that there'll be a 70-odd% increase in your rates, in 5 years' time it's going to be 150. On the average rate basis, that means that every single one of you or every single one of your homes is going to have to find something like $200, $250 before you go to the supermarket, before you put petrol in the car, before you pay your rent or your mortgage, before you pay for your insurances. You're going to have to find that money. No, sorry, that's too much. We've got to look at it straight away.
And a very powerful rebuttal. Next up, Jim, please pick a box.
Box number 7, please.
Box number 7. Okay, we have E for egg. There we go, eventide. International studies have shown that an active appreciation of a society's diversity boosts both positive well-being and economic growth. Some might argue Tauranga City has in the past overly represented a specific demographic. How would you ensure Tauranga City Council actively reflects our whole society?
Okay, I assume the specific demographic referred to would be the newlywed or the nearly dead, because that's the traditional view of Tauranga. Yeah, look, I went to the Multicultural Festival held here in March. I really enjoyed it. Despite the rain, it was a really good vibe. We have the likes of Multicultural Tauranga, so it's not like we're not already catering for this need. I've lived and worked in Melbourne for a short time, and I love that Melbourne was so diverse that no one really cared where you were from. And yes, we really need to be shaking off that newlywed and nearly dead mantle now, and diversity is going to increase and quite organically, and just bring it on.
We appreciate it. Gosh, forgive me, my recall is not the best right now. I had a lot on my mind. But yeah, so next will be Chudleigh.
Number 5. We have D for diesel. The most vibrant and successful cities on earth have grown societally and economically in part through abandoning concepts of homogeneous societies and embracing the diversity of our populations. Aotearoa New Zealand has a population represented by over 1,500 ethnicities, cultures, and social identities. How would you grow Tauranga Moana through actively celebrating all peoples who call our city home?
Wow, there's a lot in there, First of all, I have to be honest, and I get sick of people telling me how successful towns and cities are in other parts of the world that have done this. Well, there's no real proof of it. We've got an absolutely incredible population in Tauranga that is very diverse. The main function of council is to make sure that every single one of them gets treated the same. And the opportunities for every single one of them are not put on the back burner. That's what a council can do. Other than that, these own ethnic groups, hey, I've got no problem with them starting up their own little clubs and groups. And if council's got buildings that they can lease to them and things like that, that's where council's role is to support them and to make sure that they can do what they want within the community at large, and they have the same rights as everybody else.
Great timing, most appreciated. Last in this round. Oh, sorry, button from Andrew.
Diverse. 30% of our population comes from the migrant community, and it'd be nice to see greater representation across more aspects of our society. For me, this question's come up across quite a few of these, and I wanted to take it down a different angle, and I wanted to talk about safety and visibility. because a lot of other candidates have spoken about inclusion and diversity. And well, for me, if our people can see themselves in our society, whether that's our council staff or our councillors, or whether that's people partaking in our society, if you go to the store and you're not the only one with a physical disability or a mental disability that's working at that store, then you can see yourself reflected through your society. Then you're going to feel more safe to be able to contribute to it. And it is, quite frankly, because we live in a consumer economy, the more of our people that can actively partake in that economy, then the more our entire society flourishes. Thank you.
Very cool. All right, last in this round. No more buttons. Barbara, please pick a box number. Please use your microphone.
Box number 3, please.
Box number 3. Okay, we have I for igloo. So this is a yes or no question. Do you support the establishment of Māori wards? Do you support the Treaty of Waitangi? Why?
Absolutely, I support the Treaty of Waitangi. It's a living document for Aotearoa New Zealand. I work at a school and it's part of our curriculum and we're all well aware of what it means. They are the voice of our community. They are the tangata whenua of Tauranga and every other city in New Zealand. I recently, or today, attended the Tauranga commemorative 160 years of the Battle of Tauranga. It was very moving and it was very special. Along with that is the Battle of Gate Pa, the Tauranga Pukahinahina pose and things like that. And this is something that we need as a town to understand better, to come to the realization that that's our history, our main history, and we actually, whether we like it or not, need to learn more about it and be inclusive of the tangata whenua of Tauranga City.
Quite an emotional subject, no matter where your understanding may lie. All right, that was a fun round 1. Thank you very much for participating. Let's go again. Oddly enough, we have Bram to be first in the list.
Number what?
Number 1 is gone.
Last one there.
28 would be the last one.
We have Z for zebra. It's the only word I can think of that starts with Z. What initiatives will you implement to reduce crime and make our neighbourhoods safer?
I believe it's a community participation that is key to this happening. We are becoming more insular as people, and this is contributing to what is happening today.
So please hold the microphone a little closer. Sorry to interrupt you, sir. I don't mind.
When families and communities are actively involved in identifying and controlling unwelcome incidents, the more pleasant the neighbourhood becomes. We cannot keep on blaming the council or the government for some of these issues. However, we as council, we can provide the support, the background, and to enable communities to work together to make this happen. Thank you.
Nicely said. Chudleigh, your question, please.
23.
23.
There's a lot of strangeness around that number. I invite you to look into it yourself. If anyone remembers being 23, it was a strange time.
AA for Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't know. What are your plans for implementing sustainable practices and green initiatives in our area?
Well, that's a curly one. Well, my plans in particular, I'm sorry, sustainable practices and green initiatives are things that come from a collective of council and from not only the local authorities. We have local authorities in the area whose job specifically is to do that, and then to bring their recommendations to councils. And as a councillor, I certainly look favourably on things that are going to improve the environment for ratepayers. Personally, I don't think that I am clever enough to do that or know enough about it. Quite honestly, I would leave it to the experts and the recommendations they make to council, and then make sure that council are doing things that benefit the ratepayers.
Thank you, Chudleigh. Terry, pick a box.
Thank you. I've got a couple of this thing. I'll stick with the fives, please. 25.
25.
Yeah.
We have W for
I'm gonna get the
weather.
mic.
Auckland Council has recently shifted to taking away recycling bins of people who mix in general waste with their recycling. Should Tauranga consider doing the same thing?
Yeah, I think we should. There's always a cost to these things, and I believe costs should, where we can, should lay where they're born. The other thing I'd suggest possibly is they're going to have to monitor them to some extent to know who is putting the waste in. And another possibility would be to simply charge them extra. They've gone to the work of monitoring them, they know who they are. So if they are continually putting waste that shouldn't be in the bin, which creates problems and expenses for all of us, then they should be charged, I believe. Thank you.
We're just going to play musical microphones in a moment. Next up, your question will be for Andrew.
Well, I wanted one first time. I'm standing for Tauranga and Te Papa, so all of your ones, 11.
We have Q for Queen. Shortly, Tauranga City Councillors will be asked to approve a proposal for the installation of rainbow street art in the CBD. The aim of the project is to celebrate our rainbow community, acknowledge our wider diversity, and improve the vibrancy of our CBD. Would you vote in favour of the proposal? And if not, why not?
I believe the question was about a street art, and in the link that we got, it had specifically a crossing. Now, I don't know the legalities of changing over a crossing, but I am all in favour of a street art that celebrates diverse aspects of our community. I believe, like I mentioned before with visibility, that allowing people to see themselves and be seen in our society is important for them to be included and contribute to their fully. And we always flourish when we get contributions from the diverse aspects of our society, because we are different and we come from different backgrounds and we have different ambitions. And collectively, when we kind of push towards our different ambitions, then that's when I believe we all flourish. So I would be in favor of supporting various artworks, but in this case specifically for our LGBT community. Thank you.
Great answers. Jim, are you ready to choose a box number?
Could I have box number 8, please?
Box number 8.
And sorry to those at home for me not switching the graphics locally.
Okay, so we have a C for cat. In recent years, violence directed toward Aotearoa, and in this case, Tauranga Moana's LGBTQAI community, has increased, most notably with the destruction of our community's Rainbow Youth Facility in an attack. How would you create a Tauranga Moana that actively promotes an appreciation of our diverse communities?
Okay, this really comes back to what is the role of local government and what business does it have in what goes on in our bedrooms. Look, I'm a big believer in keeping the state, whether local or central, out of our lives and particularly out of our bedrooms as much as possible. So I'd strongly advise inviting us in. Look, I work in the family law arena and I know how this can get messy. So I'll kind of give you an example of why you should probably leave the state out of your personal lives. And it may sound like I'm going off topic, but bear with me. When you get married, whether you're straight, gay, etc., this is a contract with not only with each other, but also with the state. And if you want to end the marriage, the state will force you to remain married for 2 more years before you can apply for dissolution. And this is absolutely ludicrous. So the legally good stuff is gone, like property rights, but the negative stuff remains. And if you want to get married for religious or cultural reasons, then get married in the ecclesiastical eyes of God and sign the paper. So yeah, just don't invite us into your personal lives. Trust me on this one. It's not a governance issue you really want.
Oh, I'd love to respond to all answers as a citizen. However, I wish to remain neutral and just give the format for the audience at home to decide who is the best candidate. So next up, Rod. Rod, it is your turn. Thank you.
Yes, 21. We have T for tomato. Are you able to pronounce Tauranga correctly? I probably should have spelt that out. And are you familiar with the local iwi and hapu in our city?
Tauranga, and up until recently, I probably wasn't paying much attention to Ngāti. Sorry, the three iwi. So I'm not going to try and pronounce them tonight. I know there are 3, and there is one in Te Puke that is an ancient iwi that came on the first canoe. So I haven't answered the question particularly well, especially when I do have Ngāi Tahu ancestry as well. So someone wants to butt in and give me the correct answers, Andrew, it's probably right up your alley.
All right, nobody wants to butt in on that? Very good. Barbara. Barbara, please pick a box number.
Number 7.
7 is gone.
Oh, the next box to you.
Number 6. We have F for Frank. Do you wish to promote or delay public transport measures for Tauranga?
I wish to promote the smart strategic investment in public transport. TCC must work with the regional council to ensure that Tauranga enjoys a better commute on our roads. Our big buses, and I recently spoke to a number of bus drivers, and our big buses need to operate at peak times. And then at off-peak times, we need to look again at the on-demand buses, and we need to get used to using those smaller buses for the other commutes. They can get us there quicker and faster and can have more passengers than our big buses have during the off-peak times. You often see them running around with none or 1 or 2 passengers in. That is a waste of fuel and economics.
The on-demand bus service in Tawa, Wellington, seems to be going quite well, so good luck in implementing this. New round, everyone feeling all right? I wish we were dancing next door, yeah? The randomizer seems to love Bram. He is at the top of the list again.
Okay, I'll do it at random. I'll close my eyes. Box number 16. We have L for lemon. Not a lemon-a-bit question, hopefully. What is your strategic vision for Tauranga City, i.e. what will the city look like in 10 to 15 years?
This is quite a hard question to answer, as anything can happen over the next 10, 15 years. 20 or 30 years ago, would the people that have been in Tauranga all that time, would they expect what they have today? I doubt it. Most long-term residents would say no. It was not that long ago that Matua was a series of orchards in front of Waitara Road. If we are fiscally responsible and have the regard for our community, we can accommodate Tauranga's growth in such a way that come to the future, our children's children will be in a position to enjoy the amenities, have good access around the city, and be proud to call home. And then they would be looking for their children to stay here as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Bram. Rod, are you ready to choose a question?
With 7,
7 is gone. 8's gone.
9.
9 I can do. We have A for Apple. Direct question. What political party are you linked to?
Easy answer, and then I don't affiliate with a political party. I think that all too often central government is starting to interfere too much in the local body politics, and I think we should keep them out. So staying independent is the key to being a successful councillor, I think.
I've always appreciated how grassroots the local body elections are, or local councillors rather than parties. Anyway, I think you know what I'm trying to say. So next, let's have Terry. Please pick a question, or a box with a random question.
What's spare? 23?
19?
Yes, I have 19.
That's a good choice by somebody else, so that's good.
I will reiterate, Rebecca
Go
put
for
the questions in the box. I do not know which question is in that box.
19's fine.
You're happy with 19? Okay, so we have A, B for Apple Bottom. What steps will you take to make sure our local government is transparent and accountable?
Well, it's accountable. You have an election generally every 3 years. We've got a bit of an aberration this time, but generally every 3 years they are accountable. There's transparency through your 10-year plan, which is revised every 3 years, where they have to go through considerable public consultation. And if you don't like what your councillors have done, then you have that opportunity in 3 years' time to pick some more. That's all I can think of at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Barbara, your question?
Something in the 20s.
How does 22 sound?
That sounds like two little ducks.
Okay, so we have S for Sam. Given the overwhelming empirical evidence showing that sprawl costs and public purse ratepayers way more than intensive urban development, for example, the OECD, show it triples the cost of public services, will you agree to contain the city boundaries as they are to encourage the city to go up instead of out?
Yes, I think it's time that we forget the quarter-acre section. As nice as it is for us all growing up and having the space there, we can't afford it, and we need to look at infrastructure going up. But we have to be aware, as a colleague said, of the air-sun ratio. And we need to make sure that everyone has the chance of having some green spaces around these buildings that go up. I'm not sure that I can think of much else at the moment, so sorry.
Good answer. Chudleigh, proceed.
So what's that? Number 20 is still there, I see.
Yes.
Oh, I've got some curly ones up till now.
I'll give you an easy one. U for under. With a CBD that needs revitalising and a housing crisis, supply and affordability wise, how are cost savings and rate changes going to contribute to this?
Wow. Okay. First of all, in the residential areas, if the commissions have put forward goes through as a 10-year plan, and you all have to pay $200 or $300 a week more, that is, more in your annual rates, then what we're going to see is we're going to see an awful lot of people leaving the city because they simply can't afford to stay here. And many of those people are the foundation people of the city, which were the people that originally retired here. Many people retired here and they had enough money maybe to buy themselves a little shop downtown. Well, you go downtown today, 40% of the shops are empty. It's a ghost town down there. You can get a car park right outside the city council because there's just nobody around. It is just deathly. So how do we encourage businesses back into the CBD? Well, there's a number of problems here. Number one is the value of the properties. Do we wait until they come down, or do we begin at the amount of rent that businessmen have to pay on top of their leases downtown? It's become unaffordable down there and people can't make any money out of it. So unless you address that problem and find a way, you won't be able to revitalise the city centre.
Thank you. Round it out. Very good. Andrew, are you ready for your question?
Always. 14, I think I see.
Number 14.
Thank you.
We have M for monkey. A nice short one. How will you manage the city's finances?
Cautiously and prudently, I will examine all the incomings and outgoings of the city. I believe that is the responsibility of all councillors to embed themselves in the beast, as it were, and to understand how it functions as best they can. But while saying that, I also want to acknowledge that it is a time of development and growth for our city. And so we will have to, as I've mentioned before, spend appropriately so that over time the city can grow to afford itself. That's mostly it. Making sure that we're not being wasteful with our products, making sure that we're not duplicating our services. I know that they're contemplating redoing the waterfront playground, which they've only just put up. Things like that, making sure that we set a plan and we stick to it and we follow it through so we reduce a lot of this duplication waste. Thank you for your time.
And thank you for sharing. Last in this round, Jim.
Do we have box number 10?
We do have box number 10. So we have B for berry. Aotearoa New Zealand has a population represented by over 1,500 ethnicities, cultures and social identities. Studies have shown that diverse and inclusive societies both increase well-being and economic growth. How would you actively improve Tauranga Moana's sense of celebration and celebration of its diverse society?
I think I've kind of already answered this one, so I'm going to bump it. Andrew.
Deferred to Andrew.
What was the specific question? Sorry, which one?
Is it B?
Yes, B. Yeah.
Thank you.
Would you like me to read? Oh, you got it there.
Which one was it? Oh, that one. I've similarly answered that, I believe. Though I'm happy to go again because, trying to get on council, I have to be able to talk and communicate my vision to you. So I spoke about safety and visibility last time. So how we actively sell and improve Tauranga's means. For me, it's making sure that we utilize our community spaces. We have the historic village, which for what it costs the council, I don't believe it costs the council too much. We just pay them, reduce their rent a little bit. And for what we as a city get out of what they provide, it's just absolutely immense. So I think the council needs to make sure that our various community groups, from the historic village to the Welcome Bay community groups, are supported adequately and that they don't have to fight for their survival when the long-term plan comes up and the council decided to jack their rent up by too much. So that's a lot of it for me, is again, including our people, making sure that they see themselves in our society, and that making sure we use our money appropriately and our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. We are running close to half time, but we have 7 boxes, so we'll go one final round if everyone's okay to proceed. Let's see if we get Bram at the top of the list again. Yeah, really. Maybe it's the when we yep. All right, your turn. Please proceed.
Any box, pressure on me. Okay, I'm going to go with my lucky number, 24. So we have Y for yes. What will you do to support and promote arts and culture programs for young people in our community? I believe this was a question that was submitted through our youth at Youth Voices Action.
I believe that this needs to be driven by and supported by our schools and our various culture groups. And it also has to be supported by the young people. Got to be careful what I say here. Getting off their bums to get out there and make people aware that they are there for them. The council can supply suitable venues and provide support both directly and indirectly, not only to our young people, but to enable all our types of arts and cultures to express themselves. I've answered this question directly to the youth group already, so thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Barbara.
Another box.
Another box.
Another box.
My other lucky number, number 4. We have J for John. Given the well-established evidence globally and within New Zealand that congestion is increased when more and bigger roads are built, and also that congestion is bad for the economy, including wages, what policies would you support to improve the mobility of residents around Tauranga City?
We need to try and encourage our residents, our workers, to get out of their cars and use the public transport more. But we need to have a better and more reliable public transport. I was in Auckland for a long time and we had a big business, a trucking business up there. And one of the biggest problems that we had with the business was congestion. So it cost us a lot of money in downtime. Our trucks suffer from the downtime. So we need to look at a better way of utilising the trucks coming through our towns, bypassing the main routes, and look at public transport for as many people as we can.
Thank you. Ready for Jim?
Okay, lucky dip.
Lucky dip. We're going to go with number 17. We have R for Rebecca. If you are elected as a councillor, will you decelerate council spending on unwanted grand projects and concentrate on vital necessary infrastructure needs such as roading?
Okay, I think my stance has been fairly consistent on this. It's back to basics. Things like the CBD stadium can wait, and as much as it pains me to say that, so can the Memorial Pools project. There's some things, such as the civic centre, where it's just too late to stop it. By the time we get into council and start making decisions, it'll just be too far advanced to responsibly put a halt to it. Rule of thumb will be, if the ground has not been turned on any of these type of projects, then there's an opportunity to review them.
Very good, sir. Chudleigh.
Can I get in on that? last
Oh,
one?
sorry. Yes, please do.
There's a reason the commissioners took the city down the path they did, and they didn't do it for fun, and they didn't do it to just waste all of our money. This city, as I've mentioned, needs to grow to be able to afford itself. And unfortunately, roads don't pay for a city. Roads don't pay rates, and roads don't bring me new rate payers. They might increase suburbia, but our city cannot afford more suburbs. We need to find new ways of paying for ourselves, and that's either through intensification or through the council generating an economy for itself. There are amenities that councils can build that will pay for themselves. They might look as $100,000 upkeep on the council books, but once you factor in all the jobs that are generated and all the money that's brought in from those, then they are economically beneficial amenities. And so that's what we need, because there are a lot of roading projects, and we could spend the entire 10-year plan on those roading projects, and at the end of it, we'll still have a lot more to build, and then we'll have no new income to pay for it. So beyond roads, the city has to pay its own way. Thank you.
Very good. Who just went before? So sorry.
Andrew.
Jim.
Oh, Jim.
It was Jim. Yeah, wonderful. I'm amazed at the deja vu. You guys do so great. Chudleigh.
What have we got there?
You've got number 2, number 18.
Number 2.
Number
That's me.
2. We have H for Henry, or housing.
H for Haggett.
Do you support the proposed CBD stadium?
Absolutely not. At this stage. Yes, we do need to grow. Yes, we probably do need a stadium. But there's big differences in between what council staff have come up with the Tauranga Stadium and some $220 million to put it up there, when we've got one of the mayor's candidates saying he's got an offer on the books to build the same sort of stadium at Blake Park for $48 million. What's going on? No, we need to have a good look at the way these decisions were come by. We need to have a good look at what information made the commissioners push these incredibly expensive projects. It's all very well to say that the city needs to grow, but Andrew hit the nail on the head when he said we can't afford it, and we certainly can't. And what I want to know is how come there's $1 billion of your money being spent on this downtown project, if it's such a good idea, if the city needs it, if it is going to be the making of the city. Why haven't private investors come up? Why haven't they put their hand up and say, we'll build it, you just give us the land and give us the help? No, 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 no. All of a sudden, you guys are going to be lumbered with $1 billion for something that is not council's job. It is not council's job to build commercial entities. That is the business of private enterprise.
Another brilliant answer from Chudleigh. Thank you. Rod, are you ready for your question?
What have we got left there? 26, is it?
26.
Yep.
V for vampire. Do you support ratepayers paying for growth infrastructure?
This is the big one, and the cost of infrastructure, whether to expand the city or rectify what hasn't been maintained for ages, falls on all of us. Domestic, commercial and industrial ratepayers, developers and new homeowners all have to pay part of the cost. Determining the apportionment of the costs and how they fall is going to be the challenge for the council coming in over the next 10 years.
Succinct, very good. Terry, your turn.
Got a choice of two. My eyes are good, but I can't see the numbers.
You've got 18 or 27?
27, please.
We have X for X-ray. How do you plan to address climate change and environmental issues at the local level?
I think that's an issue that we all have to be cognizant of. We see it in the news every day with environmental issues closing in on us. I think we just have to play our part. Our waste collection is a very important one for every one of us in the community to make sure we get that sorted out. Our use of power, all the supplies that we have, power, water, we need to once again do our best to save those assets that are coming in. And we just all have to be very, very careful. I think the whole community and council needs to lead it where they can. Thank you.
All right, so bring us to the end of this section of the show. Andrew, please pick the final box. I think it was 18.
Oh, tough choice. 18, please.
And it's another long question, so I'm going to take a deep breath in. We have O for octopus. During stage 1 of the Cameron Road project, businesses were severely impacted by the works and owners were harassed by the council and commissioners. What lessons have been learnt by this project and how do you ensure that the council doesn't bully businesses and people again? Will you take personal responsibility for stage 2 or any other council-run projects?
Absolutely. If I put my name to a project, sign off on the line-term plan, then I absolutely am willing to be responsible for that and be held accountable for delivering that. I have heard the commissioners speak, and they've obviously done a lot of reflecting. They were the ones involved in the organisation and planning and the council itself, and they've reflected on that the cones were out too long, it wasn't phased appropriately. So the council itself has learned a whole bunch of lessons from that. Is this the one where it's my thoughts on the plan itself? No, otherwise I think the Cameron Road plans are excellent. And as for bullying businesses, look, our council really shouldn't be bullying its constituents anyway. I think it's about a much more approachable manner, about communicating with the businesses and letting them know your plans of what's happening, how long the disruption is going to be, and by goodness, sticking to it. Because obviously every overrun and every delay has a massive impact on our businesses. Thank you.
Yep. Let's use those button cards. I think Chudleigh got there first.
Yeah, hi. Now, this question really speaks to the total dysfunction of council. It has been a disaster, the Cameron Road, and you all know it's been a disaster. There have been areas where, for example, the stretch between 11th Avenue and 13th Avenue was ready to be sealed on a Monday morning before somebody found out that the stormwater drain hadn't been put in. And so they had to dig it all up and start again. And then we've got the blowout of millions of dollars over the budget. Money just kept going down a great black hole and nobody was held to account. I mean, there are private contractors who are contracted by the council to do this, but council had their own people on the job ticking things off as it went. But we still got masses of problems. We got delays. We got businesses going out of business because people couldn't get to them. And then at the end of the day, we've got masses of cycle lanes we don't need, masses of bus lanes we don't need, and we've got big humps on every corner that are going to take the suspension out of everybody's car over a period of time. And then to add insult to injury, they start stopping people from turning left onto Cameron Road. None of this was discussed with the people. None of it was discussed with the ratepayers. Council and the commissioners went on their merry way and created a disaster. Stage 2 must not be the same.
And Barbara.
I'm against stage 2 for many reasons. I've spoken to businesses from 15th Avenue down to Greaton Village, and they don't want this coming through their area. Their area has already been harassed and hassled with the changes around Greaton from Mitre 10 through to Greaton, going from down to one lane all the way through. The traffic build up there is horrendous at night or in the morning if you're coming through from Barks Corner and that way through the racecourse. The build up is terrible. The biggest problem in stage 1 was they couldn't find the pipes. They didn't do due diligence on where the pipes were. They relied on 100-year-old plans. They didn't put the proper traces down to find where they were. And that's why they extended the time in doing all that. We don't want that to happen in stage 2. We want them to, if they're going to continue, we want them to find out where the pipes are first, because they're the things that need replacing. Recently, Dive Crescent stormwater failed. 12th Avenue stormwater failed last week, causing all brown water in the area. It's just got to stop. We've got to do something proper. We've got to do due diligence properly, and the people in the second half of Te Papa don't want stage 2 at this stage.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. I shared a house when I was young with a guy that designed Barks Corner for what was then the Ministry of Works. That junction was originally designed as an over and under, and had it been built as an over and under at the time, half of our problems would be gone.
Always appreciate local knowledge. So let's call it off the record. All good. All right. Some amazing candidates here. I presume we're all anxious for a break. I know I am. So we're going to break for 5 to 10 minutes. I'm feeling a little out of my depth. While I don't mind public speaking in my own job as a train manager in Wellington, this is definitely Sam's project, and I'm feeling the heat of it and not bringing enough joy to the situation. So I will be passing it back over to him so that he can put his spin on it, as it is Sam's show, although we do work as a team. So in saying that, let's have a break. We'll see you after the break for hard-hitting questions.
Okay, and let's get to the fun part of hard-hitting questions. These are the questions where every candidate has to sit down there and answer every question. So they cannot use their button cards or their defer cards, well, because they're going to be answering it anyway. So let's talking about random list order sheets. Okay, finally, we have a different order. And that sets her into it. Andrew, you get to go up first with, so actually, no, you get to go first, but I need to actually tell the people what hard-hitting question number 1 is. Do you support the Tauranga City Council's long-term plan 2024 to 2034? Far away.
Yes, overall, I do support the plan. I believe it's moving the city in the right direction. I believe it's developing key areas like improving our transport network so our people can more easily get around our town without relying on just the personal car. And I believe it's got a heavy focus on revitalizing our CBD, which is one of the most important issues for Tauranga at the moment. The fact that we have an economic dead zone in the heart of our city means that we're all paying for it anyway. So if we pay for it to develop appropriately into a city CBD and stop trying to pretend that it's still a town CBD, then we will, then it will grow to be able to contribute to the rest of Tauranga's economy, which it's currently not doing. So overall, yes, I think there might be some things to refine, but I think the direction is good and I intend to finish it should I be elected. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, Chudleigh. Oh, yes, as I told you, I'm very strict on timekeeping here.
What have we got?
Oh, the hard-hitting question. Do you support the Tauranga City Council's long-term plan 2024 to 2034?
The big project? No, I don't. Yep, there's some other stuff in there which is necessary for the growth of a city, but no, the city can't afford it. The ratepayers certainly can't afford to have their rates increased by 167% over the next 10 years, or probably over 150% in the next 2 years. We're going to see a flight from the city of people that simply can't afford to stay here. And of course, that flight from the city is going to put homes and properties on the market, which of course is going to drive property prices down, which means the council's going to get less income from the rates. So guess what they're going to do? Put the rates up again. No, this has got to be looked at as a living document. It's got to be looked at in the long term and what is affordable to the people. And how, I mean, what Andrew said is quite right. The downtown area is as dead as a doornail and it needs to be revitalised. But you don't spend $1 billion down there where nobody can park their car to get there. So, no, it has to be looked at again. It's totally inappropriate at the moment.
Thanks for that. Jim?
Right, I'll keep this short. Short answer is no. And I'll tell you why. The document needs to be reviewed and it needs to be given legitimacy. The long-term plan was brought in by an unelected statutory body, and an elected a council needs to go through and review it. But to be fair, as many people have already said, it's a living document, so we can do that, and it is not set in stone. That's not to say that we throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's some good stuff in there. But, you know, we need to tweak it, think harder about the costs and the timeframes. And some of the projects and aspirations contained within the plan may well need deferring.
Okay. Bram?
I do support the Commissioner's long-term plan. We just got, I think it's already been mentioned, it is a live document. It is reviewed every 3 years. Tweaks are made on the way, but it is a document that we can reference as it provides a visionary base for the Tauranga city to work on over the coming years. Thank you.
Rod?
Yes, definitely support the plan. I think it's given us focus, vision, and something to aim for. When we stand back in 2034 and look back 10 years, the plan will be very, very different to what it is at the moment. The adjustments we make on the way means that some of the stuff at the tail end will probably not happen. But at least we've got the ship moving in the right direction, I believe. So for all their faults, the commissioners have got us on the track.
Okay, Barbara?
Okay. Yes, I support the TCC long-term plan, but not fully and not in its complete current form. I feel that there's some areas that we need to relook at and check that they have got the funding to go with them. There's a lot of wish list stuff on there. There's been a lot of submissions made to some of the stuff that's on the long-term plan that weren't listened to or understood. So I think we need to revisit what has not been let, what jobs haven't been let, and what's still available to make changes to. So I think that there's got to be a good look at what the LTP is.
And Terry.
Yes, I absolutely support the long-term plan. We, in 3 years' time, it won't take long for 3 years to tick by, and all the works won't have been completed. And at that stage, you'll get a chance to review the 10-year plan. Some of their items, their areas of interest, I don't really share. For example, I would like to have had a walkway along the waterfront to Memorial Park, and I might have cut back on some others. But no, I support it, and I think we can review it in 3 years' time. I think it's a positive step forward. Thank you.
Okay, let's kick off the hard-hitting question number 2. Do you support removing the racecourse for building more housing or a new hospital? Jim, you get to kick off with this one first.
It will come. It's just a matter of when. And Avondale Racecourse is facing a similar dilemma. 35 hectares of land valued by the Auckland Council at $77.5 million. And rezoning to residential will be heard later in the year. If rezoned, that value could increase to $300 million. It's tempting. So in a similar exercise would happen here. There's a lot of housing potential, and the temptation could be too good not to consider to utilise the processes elsewhere, i.e. paying down debt. My understanding that is a new hospital could also be earmarked for that land. There's also a roading option if the land would become available or acquired under the Works Act, but I will cover that in question 3.
Okay, Bram.
I suggest that we consider more than just the racecourse and the hospital. In my opinion, the racecourse, airport, other green spaces will all come under more pressure as highly productive land runs out, and the demand for accessible, affordable housing, including commercial and industrial land, increase the need for that with the population growth. If this does happen, we will need to further investigate and consult to ensure that the right infrastructure is in place and the final outcome is for the benefit of Tauranga. The hospital could remain in its current location, as there is room for expansion. Irrespective parking has to be readdressed. This could be achieved by building a multi-storey car park on the lower level that is behind the existing hospital and at the same time builds more wards on top. This is all dependent on the strength of the ground underneath. We know what the grounds around Tauranga is like. Shit. Sorry. And the other I'll raise is the Tauranga port. It is just at its limits, and maybe there is further reclamation required.
Terry.
No, I don't support the racecourse. I support it being kept as it is. I've talked before about planning, and we have to look 50 years ahead or even 100 years ahead. Tauranga is going to be, have a couple of 100,000, 300,000 people. The area, the land that the racecourse is on, and the golf course, and I'm not at all concerned about golf. I'm not concerned about the racing club, but that green space in 50 years' time is going to be absolutely critical to this city. And if you start gobbling it up, once you build on it, she's gone. You never get it back. I think we've got to preserve that green space. And I'd be absolutely against that being built on for any reason. Thank you.
Okay, Andrew.
Well, I believe the land there is under treaty stipulations or mana whenua control, so I don't know if what the council actually has the authority to do. I believe, as I said, there are stipulations that it has to remain recreation. And I'm quite in favour of it remaining a green space. As was well mentioned, we are going to run out as we get bigger, as we get wider. We are going to have to take care of our green spaces that we do have. I'm not particularly in favour of the horse racing industry. I'll be straight up honest about that. If we want to have a horse racing track, I suggest moving it to Matamata. They tend to breed the horses out there. It's nice and convenient, good for their economy. And we should probably just use that for green space for ourselves. And a similar response for the hospital on that land. I think there's better use for it, and I'm honestly not sure of the permission the council has to use it without getting sign off of tangata whenua. And as I understand it, then being used for non-recreation space. Thank you.
Rod.
Absolutely not. Green space has become more precious as the city has expanded and spread. It will become even more important as we intensify and the population increases. I don't believe horse racing will survive in the long term, but this taonga should be utilised as open space, public gardens and playing fields. The proposal to build on this land for either housing or a hospital was soundly rejected in a public survey the council undertook a couple of years ago. If elected, I would push to enforce the result of the survey on behalf of our grandchildren who will be finding it hard to find a place to play, I think, in 50 years' time.
And Chudleigh.
Well, it seems there's one thing we all agree on, that the green space out with what we know as the racecourse should remain. In 50 years' time, that amount of green space is going to be like gold, with all of the increases in the housing and all of the larger roads, which are bound to come. Roads, the government will put a dual lane carriageway through there without too much time. Let's say 5 years, 8 years time, we're going to see it. No two ways about it. But to destroy that green space, either for a hospital or for housing, is a big mistake. And as was said before, a local survey showed that the vast majority of people in Tauranga agree. And that's where council should go, with what the ratepayers want.
And thank you for that. Now let's kick on to hard-hitting question number 3. Oh, we haven't got to you, Barbara. Sorry. Go ahead, Barbara. Sorry. Well, I'll change the graphics back to question number 2. Sorry, I must have skipped on that list. And I'll be honest, when I screw up, I admit to it.
That's all right. Thank you. I actually don't think that we should lose the racecourse area. I do believe that eventually the racecourse will go as a racecourse and it will be a green area. I don't believe that the hospital needs to move there. The old nurses' home and the car park down below is adequate space for them to enlarge themselves. I do agree that the green space in a few years' time will be invaluable.
Okay, now we'll actually get to hard-hitting question number 3. I have asked everyone. I thought I'd better check just so I don't make the same mistake twice. Otherwise, that's going to be a bit embarrassing. So, hard-hitting question number 3. Do you support the Cameron Road Stage 2 upgrade proposal in its current form? If not, what changes would you like to see? Since we all hear about being solutions-focused. Rod.
Thank you. I support Cameron Road 2, but with much improved process. When we stand back and look at what we now have between Spring Street and 70th Avenue, it's working well, it looks attractive. On top of the obvious visual improvements, what lies beneath it and can't be seen will see us through another 100 years. Stage 2 needs to go ahead to future-proof the utilities under the road, if nothing else. If elected, I'll be making it my mission to ensure it is managed better on the ground. The treatment of businesses and residents and the path of the works was terrible and can't be repeated. Working as a conduit between the affected, council staff and contractors will be my aim. Learning from the issues of the stage 1 should allow all involved to complete the work in a shorter time frame with less hassle.
Okay, Terry.
Yes, I support going into the future. Our services underground need to be fit for purpose. Our roadway needs to be fit for purpose. So I believe that work needs to be done. The thing that concerns me and always has is that you have shopkeepers, you have businesses along that road frontage, and somehow or other the council needs to try and look after them, because I think it's unfair to say, well, it's just bad luck, you just got to suck it up. I think we need to do more to look after those, the people on the route while this is happening. And that includes the way they go about the work, how it's done, how it's communicated, and making some sort of provision to help them over that period of time. Because when your business is struggling for 2 years while it goes through this process, that's a long time for them to have to get through. And I've been into a business when I was a councillor, prior to I was just told very, very plainly what to do with myself and where to go because of what council had done. So businesses do get hurt badly with some of these infrastructure changes. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Andrew.
Yes, I very much do support the upgrades. I believe they are necessary. As everyone has mentioned, the pipework obviously had to be done, and so you might as well upgrade the roads when you do it. There are due to be 50,000 more people here by 2050. And based on our averages, that's another 30,000 houses, and that's another 15,000 cars. The average car is 4.5 metres, and that works out to be 68 kilometres worth of car. We are not going to road and car our way out of congestion problems in this city. So we have to encourage other modes of transport. And that's simply it. People will do what is easiest. And we've spent the last 50 years making sure that the personal car is the easiest way around. And unfortunately, we don't live in the 90s anymore. There are some people who will have to keep using the car, tradies, truckies, elderly, people with mobility issues. But for the most part, we need to make sure our road upgrades are focused on getting out of cars and making moving around our city much easier. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Bram.
If I'm elected, I will review the proposed work in finer detail and discuss further with those mostly involved and affected by what is proposed. Without all the background facts, it is hard to fully understand all the ins and outs of what makes this project tick. As an example, just as a small example of what happened in stage 1, there was a cafe. They put a double that had parking for people to call into the cafe and make their business work. What they've done is they put a double bus park stop in front of them, where I actually sat out there for 2 hours and not one bus stopped, and the business is losing its trade. It is an easy fix. We can put I believe we can put 4 or 5 car parks back in and still have a bus stop. All right? Thank you.
Jim.
Okay, no. And what I would like to do is actually investigate an alternative roading project. We have either an extension of Chadwick Road down into the valley to hook up with the new interchange, or alternatively a new road into basically where the entrance to the racecourse is now. Now, I know the terrain and the ground conditions aren't great, but it's still something that I think needs to be investigated, and someone needs to tell me why it's a dumb idea. But if we could get that through, that would take an enormous amount of pressure off the entire length of Cameron Road.
Chudleigh.
Right. I'm with everybody else. I want to have a good look at the ideas that are being put forward for this. If it's anything like stage one, it'll be a disaster. And the total incompetence that's going along with all of these designs needs to be addressed before you do anything else. And there's no sense in doing anything about the congestion on Cameron Road until you fix Barks Corner. And to do that, you have to get hold of National Transport, because they can do it. They can put an over and under roundabout there, and all of a sudden the pressure goes off. Because it doesn't matter how good the road is from here to Barks Corner. When it gets to Barks Corner, it's still going into one-lane roads. So the pressure's going to stay. It's just a waste of money, because it's not going to make any real difference. It's just like spending all that money on three-laning 15th Avenue. What difference has it made? Right? None. It's cost an awful lot of money, but when they get down to the Turret Road Bridge, the same problem happens all over again. It just has not achieved anything except keep people quiet. So yeah, I'd like to look at what they're proposing. There is an awful lot in the stage one we don't need. We don't need all those traffic lights. We don't need all those humps on the side of the road, and we don't need all those bus lanes, and we don't need all those cycle lanes.
Barbara.
I've said before that I am against the stage two, as are many of Gate Park and Greeton residents. We don't need a wide footpath for a few people to walk along, and the cyclists are supposed to be on, but they're still on the road. What needs to be fixed is the water and the sewerage pipes. But we need to make sure that we do due diligence to find where they are before it starts. We don't want a huge delay, start digging up one part and then not finding where it's supposed to be, so they move on to another part. What we do need though, or what we don't need along there, is these beautiful gardens that are along the side of the road, full of weeds. So we need to look at something better and something alternative.
I think by the sounds of it, we need to designate Cameron Road, the road part, a motorway, and then it will force the cyclists onto the cycle lanes. I believe that's what they did with the Wanganui River Bridge to stop pedestrians walking over it back in the day of New Zealand's shortest motorway that since has been revoked. So, yeah, some of the things in there. Okay, so now it's time for closing statements. And this is where the candidates will sum up on why you, the voter, should give them why you, the voter, should give your first preference vote to them. And we start off with Chudleigh.
Thank you. Well, once again, people, thank you for coming along and going through all this dreary nonsense you have gone through today. I do appreciate you coming along and taking a personal interest in those people who want to represent you at council. Now, I'm retired, as it's pretty obvious, and I have had quite a successful career in business. I was trained originally as an automotive engineer. And I have been on council before. I do know how the system works, and in some cases I can see absolute problems everywhere and nobody is addressing it. There are elephants in the room all over the place and nobody wants to address it or look at it. They just hope that it will go away. I believe I am a good manager and leader, and I think that this city needs leadership. Everything that's been said so far about the city needing to look towards the future is correct. But we have to do it in a way that's affordable to the ratepayers. We don't want to go to the ratepayers way, but we want to improve the city.
Okay, Barbara.
Sorry, I wasn't ready for that.
We're here about surprises.
Okay. I love Tauranga. I've lived here for quite a while now, since moving down from Auckland, and I've seen the changes. We've gone from $10 Tauranga to one with lots more business and a bigger paycheck. But what we can't afford is huge rate increases. We need to balance the long-term plan to make the city grow, but to enable people to still live here. Tauranga is rapidly changing and growing with a wonderful harbour and beautiful beaches. But we've got a CBD that is dead. There's a sinister side to Tauranga with infrastructure and roading problems. We need to look deeply at what we can do to fix these. We need to look not only at alternative transport, but alternative use of a lot more of our roads. I believe that it's time for the citizens of Tauranga to be heard and vote for Barbara Turley as your first choice.
Continuing with surprises, Jim.
Okay, we're heading back to having a duly elected local council again, and there's an appetite out there for fresh faces on council, which is great. But there needs to be a good skill base across that team, and my skill base is obvious. Form, storm, norm and perform. That is likely to be the pattern to expect as the new council sets in, and no one wants to repeat of the last elected council that imploded. Now, this may sound really vanilla, but I want to bring stability to council. Stability sounds really boring, but stability is underrated, and I have those skills. Dispute resolution, family violence mitigation, negotiating agreements between aggrieved and hostile parties, knowledge of the relevant law. All this is everyday stuff I deal with, all transferable skills to make sure that the wheels don't fall off again in council. Tauranga deserves a stable, hard-working council that will perform for all our residents, and I want to be a part of that for the benefit of all generations.
Okay, Rod.
Just got hooked up. I'm here to make the CBD move again. I don't think it's dead. It definitely isn't dead. It's probably going through the biggest growth phase that it's ever seen. That comes with a lot of pain, and I don't know that that's been particularly well managed, both by the commissioners and the council staff. So my reason for standing, I have skin in the game. I have 2 businesses in town, and I'm all about making the 10-year plan happen. Yes, maybe a few changes as we hit the end of it, but it needs to be pushed along, and we spent a lot of money making it or putting it in place, and I want to see it achieved.
Okay, Bram.
Excuse me. Thank you all for coming along tonight. As your representative, I will promote your interests at the council meetings, so council decisions are for the benefit of our community. They are within the bounds of reasonable expenditure and in accordance with the Local Government Act. Just so everybody's aware, the Local Government Act states to promote the social, economic, environmental and cultural well-being of communities in the present and for the future. I have directed and managed my own businesses, built and worked for and led small and large companies, overseen and managed budgets well over $100 million, and engaged with various government departments, councils, as both as a contractor, a consultant and advisor. I believe in common sense, innovation, and economic results. If you believe in what I'm saying, vote number 1. Would you like a copy of all the answers to the questions tonight? You can pick one up for me. Thank you.
Okay, Terry.
Kia ora, everybody. I've lived in Tauranga all my life, and what we need going forward, I believe, is stability. We need a steady hand on the till. We do not need any knee-jerk reactions, and we need a collaborative council, people that can work together. And I have a history of being able to do with that. I have good relationships with the Western Bay Regional Council, the iwi around Tauranga, the business sector I have a very good relationship with. And it's a matter of putting that together because going forward, the most important things for us is planning, looking into the future, seeing where we want to go and getting that right. If you get that right, everything else will fall into place. The other important thing is funding. We need to find another mechanism for funding councils other than rates, because every growing council in the country is struggling. They're in trouble. We need to talk to the government. If we could get some of our, for example, our GST back, we need extra funding, if we can, from the government, so that fast-growing councils can.
Okay, and Andrew.
Am I the last?
Yes, for this round.
Lucky last. Kia ora, I'm Andrew Caie, as I have been most of the night. I started off this evening by telling you about what I believe you should vote for. You should vote for people who are going to grow Tauranga into a city that can afford itself. Then I told you a bit during the night, my plans and my visions for the future. And so last but not least, well, who am I? I am a physiotherapist by trade. I got into that because I care about health and well-being of our people. Over time, you learn that you can have more influence on more people by affecting policy than by sitting in my little room treating my patients 2 by the hour. And the transferable skills that I think will make me an excellent councillor, an excellent servant for this city are on the list. Communication. I have to communicate with my patients. I have to develop a plan with my patients, and I have to get information from them so that the plan is suitable for them. And then I have to be accountable to them. I don't get to wait till the end if you're going to get better in 2 months. I need to test along the way to make sure that we're still on the right path. And last but not least, I'm an expert at building relationships. There are not many professions where you will enter and potentially within 10 minutes you'll be shirt off, laying face down, but I need to make you comfortable enough to do that. So I'm an expert at building relationships and getting people to contribute to those discussions. And I think that's what our council needs going forward. So thank you.
Thank you for that, candidates, for attending tonight. Now, just a bit of a message out to the voters. When it comes to this election, single transferable vote is the voting method. So it is very important you not just rank your number 1, but also look at your number 2, your number 3, your number 4, because whoever is going to become the councillor for Te Papa Ward will have at least 50% of the vote plus 1 on the final iteration that has them to cross the line. So when you get, so when you don't just look at your number 1, also look at your number 2, your number 3, your number 4, because they're the votes that are going to decide who ends up around the council table. That is my advice here for voting with STV. And sit there and do it. Can we also give a big round of applause to the candidates for participating on tonight's show? And a round of applause to the audience. Yeah, and can I also sit there and thank Nick, who's on cameras, Ray, who we've just done musical chairs swapping positions as on editor 1, and also Stacey, who's remotely editing the show all the way from Wellington, putting the lovely name titles on the screen there. Now, just for those who, a little bit of housekeeping stuff that's coming up, if you are watching now and you're planning to come in person for the Tauranga City Council's mayoral show, if you've got a fold-out chair, please bring it, because I believe we're in for a seating shortage tonight because it's proven to be a little bit more popular and we've only got a limited number of seats, and it might be standing room only. So back here at 7 o'clock, you can join the mayoral debate of It's in the Ballot with myself, and I'll have Paul Ballot here as question host. And just before we go, we've got to thank Rebecca for doing the job of question host for the first round today. It is, thank you for sitting there doing that and adding your own twist to things there. No problem. Thank you for that. Okay, we'll see everyone back here at 7 p.m. tonight. Have a good evening.